Hi, welcome to the video series from One Voice Nashville. I wanted to say I really enjoyed working with you all a few weeks ago. Hope you had a wonderful spring break, and I know that times are weird and you are having to be at home maybe more than you want to, but I do want to inspire you and connect with you and hope that you can be creative in this time. And I'm working with your teachers to kind of send out the work that we did from last time. But I just want to check in with all of you and take a big breath and relax a little bit and know that everything's going to be okay. We're doing it one day at a time here. I created lots of visuals just to help you stay engaged. I wanted to say or remind you that I'm with the One Voice Nashville. I should have written my name out. It's Mary Margaret. You can call me Mary Margaret. You can think about M&M for MM, like the candy. I thought today to start, we would go with a writing prompt. I want to talk a little bit about writing. I know that last time we said a few things that we all get out of writing. And for me, writing has been a healing process. It's been very reflective. It's helped me capture my thoughts. Sometimes I don't know what I want to say until midway through the piece. That happens a lot, actually. One thing for me that I'm doing in my spare time during this pandemic is I joined a writing group through Zoom, and it's helped me just stay present and stay in my thoughts and my feelings. And a lot of times, like I said, I'm halfway through that piece, and then I'm like, oh, here's what I'm saying. So don't be surprised if that happens for you during our sessions. Another thing I wanted to say about our writing time, a couple things that I do. I put my phone away, okay? So that's like nowhere near me during the writing time because one little text or something will really throw you off. So putting your phone away, turning it off, it is good for a timer if you need that, but just put the timer away, and that's something that you'll get more comfortable with over time. I like to set up a really special space. So for me, I don't want a lot of clutter in my writing area. A lot of times I write outside. That's really helpful. Let's see. Oh, music. Some of us write with music, and I'll give you that option. That's up to you. The benefit of doing this, if you want to be optimistic here about at home, is that you can listen to whatever music you want, or you could not listen to any music. And you might get more writing done because you don't have your classmates around, because you don't have the limitations of a school classroom. So there you go. You can create your own writing space at home. Make it creative, make it fun, make it you. Stream of consciousness, so try not to get into deep editor mode. Just write, just free write, just think about what you're writing and not how you're writing. So try not to get into editor mode, but just write, kind of stream of consciousness, write, even if you're like, I don't know why I'm writing, or this is stupid. Try to write for the full amount of time. We'll try to do, I'll say 12 minutes, somewhere between 10 and 15. So we're easing into longer writing periods. But today, and you can choose your own topic, today the topic is write about a time you said yes to someone, something. If you're not connecting with that, it's funny how just this little switch will help. Write about a time you said no to a friend, to a family member, to yourself, to an experience, to a decision. You create the scenario. So set the timer, and we'll say 12 minutes. Go longer if you'd like, it's up to you. But try to do at least 12 minutes of writing and see what comes up. All right, take a big breath. It's done. You did your first at-home writing session with One Voice. Hope it was helpful in some way. Maybe, again, you don't like writing, and that's okay. And my goal is not necessarily to get you to like writing, but to get you to notice what's happening in that process for you. How are you putting thoughts together? If anything, I heard a quote recently that you find your page to rest. And so maybe it's a place for you to rest, a place for you to realize you can kind of be mindful and still and not have the noise and the clutter around you. So if anything, maybe you're able to be still with your thoughts, which can be, for me, very helpful. All right, so a couple of things to review. Again, One Voice Nashville. We go through 3 components in our time together. I'm still navigating the video. So my story, your story, and our story. So we're going to use those 3 frameworks to go through different activities. We did the story trees last time, and maybe by the time you're watching this video, you've gotten a picture of your own story tree. And I can review, I did a little kind of scrappy version of the story tree I did that day with you, just to remind you of what it looks like. But that obviously goes into my story, like first person. So my story, as in you writing your own story. With the tree, you're able to navigate different parts of your life and look at different elements that shape who you are. So your roots, your values, the people that have impacted your life, all of that helps you get into deeper storytelling techniques, but also deeper parts of yourself that you can navigate through in this time. Your story, we'll get into interviewing and how to use the skills that we've learned from our own life, our own stories that shape us, into looking at someone else and saying, what's your story? And creating interview questions that really go deeper into that. Our story goes into community work, so looking at all the different pieces that shape our community, whether it be Nashville or even just Tennessee or the country, or on a smaller level like your neighborhood, Abintra. So it's looking at a community mindset of all of the stories that bring us together. With the Your Story component, we are bringing in, we were going to bring in physically people that were involved in the civil rights movement in Nashville. This is something your teachers are really interested in helping you explore the history there in Nashville. There's a lot of rich history with that movement. However, because of all that's going on, we're going to set up phone calls. So I'll tell you more about that. I'll tell you more about the people that are going to be available for phone calls, for the interviews, but that's where you'll get into the Your Story piece. Okay, so I did take a picture of our notes together of what is a story. What is it? Like, you tell me. And these are your words, not mine. So, from the picture of the dry erase board that day, you had inform. We use stories to inform each other, to tell each other information, whether it's on the news or in the newspaper, or just tell each other something informally. Entertain, you can think about family dinners and people that entertain, and comedy. A lot of times, if you look at comedians, they are entertaining with stories. Same with movies and books and things like that. Remember, there's so many times that I won't remember something, and then someone will bring up a story or something that triggers a story for me. So remember, super important. Process. So sometimes we don't really know how to experience something or to understand something, but if we can put it into a story, or if we listen to a story, suddenly it clicks. Our brain is kind of meant to process information a lot of times through a story. Express. These are your words. So express. Looking at a way to share your feelings. Maybe it's hard for you to tell something or someone how you feel, but if you can tell a story, it helps you navigate through that experience. Finally, we have connect. So in a similar way, just looking at ways to connect with other people through stories, because we all have them, as you saw in your story tree. So speaking of story tree, this is just, again, a sketch image of, I'm still figuring out how this works. Here we go. Sketch image of what I created with you all a couple weeks ago. So each part of the story tree, remember, it means something. Roots are roots, where you come from, your community. Ground represents hobbies, things that you're interested in every week. And, again, if money wasn't an issue, if transportation wasn't an issue, what would you do with your time? You can also think about, like, what do you want to do with your time someday when you get older? So you can think about career in that if you'd like. Values. So looking at values and things about your personality or your humanity that have come out of your experiences here. And then we have fruit. So I just did a couple of examples. Eva Riley is my niece. She is 7. She'll go on my tree. My mom, here we go. Dr. Navigating this. Okay, Dr. Dill, who was a professor for me in college. Coach Sparks was my track coach. So I'm going to let you kind of revisit that on your own, but just to remind you of what we did and how stories are all a part of us. So there are 5 elements of a story, and this is something new. We didn't go over this last time. However, this will be familiar to you. You probably learned this a few years ago in English class. 5 elements of a story. Actually, try to think about it before I show it to you. Maybe just saw it at a glance. But there's 5 pieces that make up a story. So think about it first. Give yourself a second. Maybe you can write it down. See what you think. 5 elements of a story. What makes up a story? Pause this if you need to. Maybe you can quiz yourself. But I'll keep going. All right, plot. So you have plot. You have action. Okay, we know what plot is. A lot of times if a story doesn't have a strong plot, we can get super bored. So you got to have your plot. You got to have movement. Think about movement. You got to move the story along. Characters. So every story has characters, and they can be people, animals, just main characters that contribute to the story. Conflict. Every good story has conflict. Thinking through some tension, some things, and it may not even be a conversation or a conflict with characters. It may be a conflict with your main character and a situation they're going through that may not be with another person. It may be with their place that they're in or this information that they received. So you can be creative with conflict, but it does need to be there some level to get to the other side of it, to resolve the story. Setting, so thinking about place, where you are. Nashville, you're at Abintra, you're at home. Think about setting, and I think setting gets overlooked a lot of times. A lot of times in good storytelling, rich, good, solid stories go deep into setting. So thinking through how to really define your setting and give context to your story. Theme. This can be a hard one to explain. So this isn't always something you can hold in your hand. It can be abstract. So theme could be love. It could be forgiveness. It could be leadership. It's something that happens, something that is a takeaway. A moral of the story is kind of a traditional way to say it. But theme can look different for different people. Sometimes it's really obvious what the theme is. Sometimes not so much. All right, let's look at an example quickly and thoroughly just to kind of go through all the elements of a story. If you have not seen Lion King, there's going to be some spoilers, just a little bit. Sorry about that. But I'm going to use Lion King as my example because I know the story pretty well enough to kind of go into each thing. I know the recent movie came out, so if you haven't seen the animated version, please watch that for your own sanity. But they're both good. It's a good story. All right, plot. Basically, you have Simba, and he is very close to his father. His father is the king. He's in charge of this community. I think it's Pride Rock is the community. So you have this really honorable leader, and he cares a lot about this place. He devoted his life to it and cared so much about the families and the animals that made up this community. So this very strong character, and he does die through a stampede. He falls down. This was staged by Scar. Scar is the jealous older brother. I think he's older, I'm not sure. But he's the uncle of Simba, and he wants to take over. So he staged this whole thing and made it look like it was Simba's fault. Simba runs away. Now you have 2 stories kind of going on at the same time. You have Simba over here trying to find himself, feeling really guilty about thinking that he killed his father. But he also meets a lot of friends and grows up. In the meantime, you have this story over here, Scar taking over, and the setting changes. It becomes really dark and sad and depressing, and there's not a lot of green, there's a lot of brown colors and just drying out. Like plants are not getting water. They're really suffering because they have a pretty selfish leader. And anyway, lots of conflict going on. So Simba comes back and he fights his uncle and takes back the leadership and saves his community. So that's a very short version of the plot. The characters I've said a lot. You also have Nala. Nala's a good friend of Simba. You have Simba's mother, I can't remember her name. You have Scar, Mufasa, you have Rafiki. So Rafiki's a fun character, and I think he's a little underrated. I do like Rafiki a lot. Conflict, I've pretty much hit on it. There's a lot of conflict. Obviously, the story conflict with all the characters, all the leadership positions changing, but also this inner conflict that Simba's going through. He's, in this other neck of the woods, but dealing with kind of this deep level of guilt and understanding, and he's also trying to make friends and going through a lot of inner conflict that you may just watch in the movie. It may not be said all the time, but you kind of watch different levels of conflict where it's really just him and his own inner turmoil, but also obviously the conflict with the other characters. Setting, Pride Rock. You have again the different setting where he's over here with Hakuna Matata. He's doing the life where he's eating bugs, and you have all the bright green, the beautiful nature, and over here you have Scar leading this new community that is becoming really dry and depressed. Theme. There are lots of themes. So you see how this can go different ways. Theme can be forgiveness, forgiving yourself, forgiving your uncle, forgiving other people. This could be coming to terms with your past in a healing way and learning how to grow through hard times from your past. It can be leadership. It can be love. It can be community. There's a lot of deep community ties. So you can see how there's different themes. Now, it's not like said necessarily in the movie, like, here's what the theme, here's what the moral of the story is. But you can see as a listener, as a reader, as a watcher of the movie, there's a lot of themes. That's one example of kind of these 5 elements of a story. All right, my challenge for you is to record a story. So that means you recording on your phone. Phones have voice memo recording a lot of times. I can show that to you. Recording it on your parents' phone or a computer or something just for you. You don't have to post it. You don't have to do anything with it. But I want you to hear yourself tell a story. We'll go deeper into kind of vocal work and ways to not use so many filler words. I've said I've noticed about every other second, but I'm intentionally not editing that out. That's my own voice and that's my own work. But if I was telling a story, if I was recording a story, I would be more intentional about thinking with less filler words, just trying to provide time for silence instead of saying But I did want to show you on your phone. Let's see. It looks like, hold on. There's a voice memo. So not all phones have it, but you might have some version of this. So if you click on it or touch it, it'll, mine's being really slow, but it'll let you record through that. You just speak into your phone. So find a way to record a story. I have lots of story prompts ideas. You can use the time you said yes, the time you said no, something you're wearing. That was that writing prompt earlier. Anytime that you got injured, those are always good stories. Trips, going on a trip makes a good story. Holidays, friendship stories. But I want you to record it. I want you to hear yourself tell a story and try not to edit, try not to overthink it. Just hit record, just tell it, and then see if you can dive into plot, characters, conflict, setting, and theme. And we'll talk next time. Have the best day. Thank you so much. Bye.